Is there a connection between addiction and ADHD? Yes, there is. So, one of the main reasons why people get addicted to drugs, alcohol, gambling is because their brain realizes that the best source of dopamine that it can get is from these things. And it can no longer tell between harmful sources of dopamine and useful sources of dopamine. Now, for you to understand is for you to understand why dopamine is a thing. Dopamine is the source that drove people into building civilization and basically surviving. It's that feeling of motivation that pushes you to do certain things. So, dopamine is produced in your brain when there's curiosity of growth. For example, when you should build a life, pay rent, get a house, dopamine is that feeling of motivation to go get a job so you can pay rent. Some people function on dopamine, and some people who have a dopamine deficiency, people with ADHD, sometimes function on fear and threat. That's why a lot of them do things at last minute and procrastinate, because dopamine is not being produced to push them, okay? So your brain will always choose dopamine over everything else, because to your brain, dopamine means of survival. Now, what drugs do, okay, is that they mess up your reward circuits in your brain. They completely mess it up. So your brain cannot tell that, hey, this thing is not good for me, okay? All that it knows is that there's this source that gives it a shit ton of dopamine, so it thinks that this is where its survival is, right? So that's why people will lose their everything just to get their hands on what they're addicted to, even though they hate it, even though they don't like being addicted. What they like is not what their brain likes. They understand this is bad, but the circuits in their brain does not understand anymore, because manually it's been changed, it's been messed up with drugs. Now, what is the connection to ADHD? People with ADHD have a dopamine deficiency, okay? So when they see dopamine, they latch on hard, right? It's like someone who's really hungry eating food, and then someone who regularly eats food eating food. The person who's really hungry and starving will devour and inhale their food, right? Because they're hungry. People with ADHD are hungry for dopamine. So when there's this source of dopamine that gives them this feeling that they're constantly lacking, they latch onto it and they're more prone to addiction. Now you can go from the embodiment of chasing and functioning on dopamine to functioning on other chemicals that make you feel satisfied in the moment rather than in the chase. And in order to do that, well, you can either take my course. It's a 14-day course. Each day I give you a practice. These practices will take your body from that nervous action of chasing dopamine to mindfulness and enjoying the now. Or you cannot do that. What you can do is to meditate, do breath work, journal, go to the gym, doing all of that stuff. But I've realized that when people are in a vulnerable place, whether it's with mental health, addiction, whatever it may be, it is easier said than done than just do all the things that you know are good for you. That's why a course like this can help you, because there's a system for your brain and for that vulnerable place that you come from, where it can help hold your hand and take you there without you feeling the burden of having to do it all on your own. There's a 7-day full refund trial, so if you don't like it, you can return it, and it's on sale. The link is already in my bio.